Hello, one, hello, all, and welcome to today's episode of The Lindsay Elmore Show. Today, I interview Kenrya Rankin. She is an award-winning author, journalist, and editorial consultant who helps people to understand the role that white supremacy has within our modern environment. I know that may sound a little bit scary, but we focus on common sense, practical applications on how we can become powerfully anti-racist and how we can instill these principles in our children. Let's get to the show. Welcome to The Lindsay Elmore Show, a podcast that helps you find fulfillment amidst chaos. On this show, I interview thought leaders, doctors, creatives, spiritual gurus, and game changers who inspire you to pursue your dreams, overcome obstacles, and leave your mark. Kenrya Rankin is an award-winning author, journalist, and editorial consultant whose insight has been tapped by leading outlets including the New York Times, the Huffington Post, and Think Progress. She creates dynamic content that amplifies the lived experiences, advocacy, and work of people of color throughout the United States. She shifts the narrative around who deserves liberation, justice, and dignity in America. A 20-year veteran in the editorial space, she currently serves as principal at Perfectly Said Studios and executive producer and co-host of the Turn On podcast. She is also the author of 5 books, including How We Fight White Supremacy, a field guide to Black resistance, and Anti-Racism, Powerful Voices, Inspiring Ideas. As a journalist and editor, her work has appeared in dozens of national publications, including Reader's Digest, Ebony, Fast Company, and Redbook, and her work has been translated into 21 languages. The Cleveland native is a graduate of Howard University and New York University, and when she's not working, she enjoys baking and having Beyoncé dance parties with her brilliant daughter. Kenrya Rankin, thank you so very much for being here on The Lindsay Elmore Show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk to you today.
Today, you are coming to bring some big ideas about how we fight racism and how we fight white supremacy. So start out just by giving us a definition of what is white supremacy.
Sure. So I define white supremacy as a political, social, and economic system that thrives on the subjugation of people who have not been let into whiteness. I take it a step further by kind of giving you a visual. So I tell folks to envision a ladder. It's rooted into the ground, it stretches toward the sky. And on the very top rung of that ladder sits a white, cisgender, heterosexual, Christian, wealthy, educated, able-bodied man.
Yeah.
In that spot, he enjoys privileges that other people who have been slotted in below him don't have. And so on each rung, as you go down, folks have more and more oppressions heaped on their shoulders that keep them weighted down. And those, include racism and sexism and transphobia and ableism and xenophobia, all the obias and isms that you can think of slot people into that hierarchy.
So when we are in this hierarchy, what happens? What do you see as like the downfall of that rich, white, able-bodied man at the top, and then arguably I'm somewhere below there, and then arguably people who look more like you are somewhere below there? What happens when this all goes awry? Because I know this year has been kind of a smack in the face, and a lot of people are coming to terms with like, I kind of like it here at the top. And we don't take that moment to say, but what is happening down beneath?
Sure. So, I think you're right. I think 2020 is doing you could call it wonderful or you could call it shitty job of showing us exactly what happens to those of us who are slotted lower on the ladder.
So, okay, go ahead. Tell us more about these socioeconomic problems that develop.
Right. Well, so, 2020 has done, either you could call it a shitty job or a fantastic job of letting us know exactly what that can look like. So It can look like being asleep in your bed and police officers coming in on a no-knock warrant and killing you, right? Because you
And
dated
then facing no justice
and then
for it.
facing no justice for it. It can look like not being hired for a job because your name tips off the fact that you're Black. My name is Kenrya Rankin. That is not a name that anyone else has, and especially not a name that a white person has.
Right.
That can look like, redlining, keeping you from being able to buy a home in a neighborhood where you want to live. It can look like schools redrawing their boundaries so that people who don't speak English as their first language are pushed outside the boundaries because they're worried about the test scores and what that means for their kids.
Mhm.
It pops up each and every day, unfortunately. It's those big things and it's those small things. It
Mm.
can look like being followed around a grocery store. It can look like not being able to travel into the country that you live in because you practice a faith that is not Christianity.
Mhm.
Folks like me deal with that each and every day.
What is astonishing to me is one of my former employees is Black. My partner is a Black Latino. And they were sitting and telling each other stories about, oh, that time I was followed around in this store, and that time I was followed around in that store. And I was like, what are you guys even talking about right now? Like, people follow you around in a store because they're scared that you're going to steal something. That's never happened to me in my entire life. And it is astonishing. This year has been an eye opener for a lot of people in privileged positions. And so, what are kind of the first steps? Because I've talked to a lot of friends about the way that white people, we're just naive sometimes, and we ask questions that we're genuinely interested but that come off as so offensive. And so if someone is listening and is like, this is kind of the first time in my life that I've realized I'm really not at risk of someone kneeling on my neck for 9 minutes until I die. I told my partner the other day a story. I remember one time that I was speeding across the state line from Alabama to Florida, and I was just flying, and I get pulled over and I can't find my insurance card. And without even thinking about it, the police officer walks back to his car and he's running my license and all the things. I am searching for my insurance card, and I find it. And without even a thought of like, this could be dangerous, I get out of my car, walk to the police officer's car, knock on the window, and are like, hi, sir, I found my insurance card. And he rolls down his window, he takes it, he says, thank you. And I say, I'll go wait in my car.
Wow.
If I looked differently, there's no way that would have gone down in the same way. So,
No, I can
where
tell
are
you
we?
that I would never do that. I would fear for my life to do something like that.
So, tell me more about the lessons that you learned as a child that I, as a white person, never had to learn about. Because, like I said, those two situations were so foreign to me and so foreign to you that they would never coincide.
Yeah. So I was raised by my dad, and there were two really important things that he taught me. The first was he showed me where I had been slotted into that hierarchy, right? So he let me know this is how, police officers often treat Black people. This is how you have to act when you're in school because, Black kids are more likely to be pushed into what we call the school to prison pipeline for, small infractions that white children are not punished for. But he also taught me something that I think we don't talk very often enough about is the joy that comes in being who I am, right? So he made sure to not always just frame it in these are the problems because the problems are not brought on by me being Black. The problems are brought on by racism, right?
Right. And it comes not even in that overt racism, it's the systematic, it's the everything that happens around there. So how did your father teach you to find joy in being who you are?
A lot of it was modeling. So, he is still a very proud Black man. And, a lot of it was exposing us to culture, to all the things that, that ground any people, right? Making sure that we, went to, concerts and we had books around that were written by Black authors, which I'm sure is a part of why I am the writer that I am today. Just making sure that we got to see in some way every day just how beautiful we are, and that, like I said, race is not the problem, racism is.
Absolutely. But, you do a lot. You write a lot. You live in this area of very significant cultural tension because a lot of people don't want to admit that they are racist. And other people are like, I'll admit it, but I'm not going to like change myself. Or there are people who are like, I'll admit it, I'll course correct it within myself, but yet they're not willing to get out there and be like, wait a minute, we're in a room with 12 people and there is not a Black person at this table. Why is that? We're not willing to ask those difficult questions.